Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome to the March 24th County Commission meeting. I would remind you to silence your cell phones. The meeting documents are on the end of the counter next to Commissioner Bender. Robert has listening devices if you need one. He's in the front row. And with that, we'll go on with routine business. Item number 1 is consider a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
There is.
A motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any additions or corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 2, approve the County Commission meeting minutes from 3/17/2015. Is there a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 3, bills to be paid in the amount of $299,957.16. Is there a motion?
There is.
A motion and
Second.
a second. Any comments? No comments. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 4 is reports. Register of Deeds official statement of revenue collections for February 2015 is on file at the auditor's office. Item number 5 is personnel actions. These are routine. Are there any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve routine personnel actions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 6 is applications for abatement. Kyle Helseth. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kyle Helseth, Equalization Office. We bring forth this morning a few requests for abatements. The first one being from Rick Wibeto, record ID 60252. This is for the addition of the owner occupied to his property. The second is for a Fred Bloom, record ID 74561, for taxes in the amount of $880.79. Again, this is for the owner occupied being added to the property. The third is from Pettigrew Partners, LLC, record ID 25838, for property taxes in the amount of $858.50. This is for a house that was raised. Item D, I'm going to murder this last name. It's Kyle K. Krejecki, record ID 28398, in the amount of $156.98. This is for a house that was raised. Item E is for the City of Sioux Falls for property they purchased last year in the amount of $587.93. And item F is for the City of Sioux Falls, again, for a piece of property they purchased in the amount of $439.19.
Kyle, do we need to have the record ID numbers on E and F? Maybe, for the record, 343,
yes, I'm sorry. Record
That's
ID
okay.
on E would be 34334. F would be 34335.
Okay. I would look for a motion on items A
Move to
through
approve
F.
Second.
item C through F.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Kyle.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pam.
I have 6 assessment freezes today. The first one is our record ID 12260 for $377.02. Record ID 33056 for $650.31. Record ID 33738 for $524.80. And record ID 42747 for $500.07.
Do you have record ID number 50850 for the amount of $33.83?
I do.
Okay, and then one more.
And 51010
Yep. And
for
then,
$966.75.
okay, that'd be items G through L. Any questions for Pam? Look for a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Item number 7 is notices and requests. The first item is notice for the U.S. State Board of Geological Names for the approval of the new name Dells Island to an unnamed island in Minnehaha County. The next notice is authorize the county auditor to publish notice to bidders for the 2015 contracted asphalt overlay for 10 miles of County Highway 155 from Minnehaha Lake County lines to County Highway 122. Good morning, Jason. Are there any questions for Jason on this
Good
notice
morning,
to bidders?
Commissioners. Jason Reese, Senior Project Engineer with the Highway Department. On the second item there, B, that's our annual overlay item, 10 miles in the kind of the northwest side of the county on Highway 155. We've targeted for overlay this summer. It's about $1.5 million on that 10 miles, and we request authorization to advertise.
Any questions for Jason? Look for a motion.
I'll make that motion to advertise.
I have a motion and a second to authorize the auditor to publish notice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Jason. Item number 8 is planning and zoning notices. There are none. Item number 9 is petition for compromise of lien. There are none. We move on to opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone that would like to speak on anything that is not on the agenda today? Okay, we'll move on. Item number 9 is regular business, number 10, under regular business, is a hearing to consider approval of a special events on-sale liquor license for Johnny Carinos to sell alcoholic beverages at 4 wedding receptions at the Crooks Gun Club, located at 2308 West 84th Street North, Sioux Falls. Bob, good morning.
Good morning, Commission. Bob Litz from the Auditor's Office. Johnny Carinos has submitted applications for special event on-sale liquor licenses for the sale of alcoholic beverages at 4 wedding receptions that will be held at the Crooks Gun Club. The dates of the events are June 20th and 27th, and September 12th and 19th. As you're aware, Resolution MC 11-25 was approved on June 21st, 2011, which allows up to 6 special event licenses issued to any eligible organization within a calendar year. The applications have been reviewed by the Sheriff's Department, State's Attorney's Office, Planning and Zoning Department, and there were no objections in the issuances of the licenses reported. Johnny Carinos stated they will have a representative present to answer any questions you may have, and that representative is Jessica Haldeman, and she is indeed here.
Okay, Commissioner Kelly.
Bob, does the 6 limitation go against Johnny Carinos, or does it go against the Crooks Gun Club?
I think it is against Crooks Gun Club. That's incorrect? Okay, then it would be Johnny Carinos.
So they can only have 2 more events where there's on-sale liquor?
That's correct.
Yeah, it's the license holder.
Yeah, it's the license holder. Okay. Are there any other questions for Bob? Are there any questions for the representative from Johnny Carinos? Okay. Do you want to say anything? Okay. Is there any opposition to this? I don't see any opposition. I would look for a motion.
I'll make that motion to allow that.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to allow the special liquor licenses to Johnny Carinos. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Item number 11 is authorize the chairman to sign the 2015 contract addendum between Minnehaha County and CBM Managed Services for Inmate Food Contract. Excuse me. Good morning.
Good morning. Jeff Gromer, I'm the warden at the jail. It's just that time of year again where we renew the contract with CBM. This year, the CBM's proposal is for a minor increase in the cost of meals from 86 to 89 cents per meal, and then for the sack lunches that we serve from 62 cents to 64 cents per meal. The contract allows for the price to be renegotiated on a yearly basis. This is just that time of year again. The price calculation was based on the 3.9% consumer price index estimate for the Midwest region.
Okay.
That's what it comes out to.
Are there any questions for the warden?
Madam Chair, I'm in support of this. I would like to make a comment, though, and that is that this increase is greater than what we're allowed under the property tax limitation, and it's certainly a very reasonable cost. But you know, it's just another drip that we have. You know, we had previously the Chief Justice increased the cost we have to pay to outside attorneys 3.5%. Now we have this increase. We were allowed this year, I believe, to increase our taxes by 1.4%. And so when we have regular increases of 3%, that at some point is going to force us into opting out in order to perform the duties that we're required to perform. And with that said, I'll make a motion to approve this.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Is there a second to approve?
Second, but I got a comment.
Yep, I have a motion and a second. Commissioner Kelly.
Well, I agree with Jeff that it's hard to retain, to continue to have 4% and 5% increases when we only get the 1.4 or with growth a little over 2. Jeff, approximately how many of those people are in jail because of alcohol-related? 75%?
A lot. I don't have a number off the top of my head. I think 75. Alcohol or drug related, I think 75 would be a safe
they may not be the
number,
primary charge, but they're
right.
They're.
I mean, any percentage I give you is kind of off the cuff, but obviously it's a substantial percentage of our.
I think that just shows our issue there.
Are there any other comments? I would just like to ask, did we figure a percentage increase like this in your budget going forward for 2015?
I have to look at it, but
Okay.
Obviously we're looking at the long-range planning now for this year's budget
Right.
discussions, and we'll be taking a look
Just
at that.
another issue that we continue to deal with. So I have a motion and a second on the table to approve this contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 12 is consider a motion to appoint a candidate to the Planning Commission Board for a 4-year appointment. Scott Anderson.
Yes, Scott Anderson, representing Minnehaha County Planning and Zoning. As you know, we've had a vacancy on the Planning Commission since the end of 2014. Mark Rogan's term expired, and he chose not to ask for reappointment, so that left a vacancy on the Planning Commission. Back in October, November, I worked with the County Commission office. We sent out a request to the media for notice that we had a vacancy on the Planning Commission. We advertised it on our website, and we did not receive any applicants at that time. I informed the County Commission of that, and we started sort of beating the bushes, asking for citizen input. And we did get 4 citizens from the community, from the county, that have applied. And I have forwarded those names to you for consideration today to be appointed to the Planning Commission. This would be for a 4-year term. Their term would end at the end of December of 2018. And the 4 applicants that applied are Doug Odie, Julie Umstead, Bill Sandness, and Keith Lepore. And I did contact all 4 of the applicants and let them know that the meeting was going to be today, that they, if they should like to attend, they were more than welcome to attend, and it would be up to the County Commission to decide if they'd like to, if you as a board would like to pick one of these candidates, or if you have someone else you'd like to bring forth. But it is important that we fill that position on the Planning Commission, because that board does make very important decisions, and when we have a Board of Adjustment item, we need a full board in order to act on that. So I'd be glad to answer any questions. Each applicant did provide some information for you. I forwarded that. Basically, it was either a resume or an application explaining their qualifications and their interest in the position.
Okay. Any questions for Scott? We do have 3 of the candidates.
I think we may have all 4.
Okay. We have all 4 of them here.
And I guess, Madam Chair, we did have an interesting planning meeting last night, and 2 of our candidates were present. I think perhaps the way we should proceed is to let them speak to us for a moment and suggest why they want the job and would be good at it. And so, with your permission, we could invite them up one at a time to speak to us.
Yep. That would be great if you want to just come one at a time and give your name and your address, and then just give us a quick reason why you want to be on here. You kind of put you all on the spot. That's what happens when you come.
That's what happens when you're in the public eye.
Yeah. One of you want to start? We got all 4 of you here, so who wants to go first? Mr. Lepore, you want to go first? You're right there on the end. So.
Hi, my name's Keith Lepore. Thank you for letting me come and talk with you today.
Could you give your address too? We just need it for the record.
It is 46732 Dorothy Drive, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I've been in the Sioux Falls area. I've grown up in southeastern South Dakota, spent the majority of my life in southeastern South Dakota, been in the Sioux Falls area for the past 20 years or so. I'm a freelance graphic designer and photographer. I've been doing that for the past 15 years or so. I was asked to throw my name into the ring by one of the Planning and Zoning Commissioners. And I feel at this time I'm ready to serve. I would like to serve. I've just finished a term on my church council as council president and would like to kind of fill that void. My qualifications are as a freelance designer, a graphic designer. I work with a lot of different businesses. I explained to Jeff when he talked to me the other day, that's one of the things I like most about what I do is it gives me an opportunity to be involved in a variety of things and get to know how they work, what their goals are, and like to see them succeed. And then I'm interested in my neighbors. I go to church at West Nedros and surrounded mostly out there by agricultural folks, but yet I'm spend probably most of my life and most of my work in Sioux Falls, so I feel like I'm pretty well balanced. That's about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Odie, you want to go next?
Good morning, Doug Odie. I have to be honest, I have to give you two addresses. My wife passed away 7 years ago this month, and I just got married 3 months ago. So where I have lived, the farm that I'm on, is 48127 Highway 42, Brandon, South Dakota. But I am currently living in Brandon, the town, at 205 Pass Flower Trail. What grew interest to me is how technology is expanding so fast, and agriculture is doing the same with all the technology. It's just hard to keep up with everything, and being part of agriculture, I think my voice or knowledge of that would help a little bit. I do know we went through an expansion mode here 8 years ago, so I know all the concerns with the citizens of rural Minnehaha County, a lot of unknowns that are out there with scientific studies that, things that are said and brought up can be proven that they do work in the agricultural field. I forgot to put this on my applicant. I was part of the Red Rock Corridor planning, which was very beneficial. It really opened my eyes up to what all goes on. With planning the development of the county and, the restrictions and all that goes with it. And then, just growing up here, I've been a resident of Minnehaha County for 55 3/4 years. So I have seen Sioux Falls grow. I've seen all the other smaller towns in the county grow and expand and how they've handled it. And so, just that would be, I think it would be great to be part of a commission or a planning and zoning board that is looking out for the betterment of the whole county as an individual. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie, you want to jump up there next and get Mr. Sandus nap last?
Good morning. My name is Julie Umstead. I live at 48044 256th Street in Garrettson. I am a little background. I'm a native South Dakotan, not from the Sioux Falls area, but up from near Aberdeen, where I grew up on a 4th-generation family farm. so I have an agriculture in my blood and in my family's history. They're still involved in agriculture up there in both cattle operations. We raised some hogs when I was a kid as well as cattle, and now currently they are corn and soybean, mostly grains. I've also worked in international agriculture in terms of international trade for the U.S. Grains Council, and I have been in dairies and hog facilities not only across the United States but also across the world. So I'm very familiar with agriculture both in the United States, in South Dakota, as well as in some global arenas. I tell you that background because I do have that background in agriculture. Additionally, we live in the country on 15 acres where we simply hay our pasture at present and have a go-kart instead of anything else. I have 3 little kids and my husband is Trey. I also have a background in journalism, and I work with the media presently, working with as a contractor for the U.S. State Department. I'm a part-time with that and have been a stay-at-home mom as well as working part-time with the U.S. State Department. I think that my experiences in agriculture, understanding what it's like to be in agriculture, be in the business, my parents, my extended family, give me an insight into Minnehaha County and the ag side of it. But I also think that the fact that I've lived in a variety of states, I lived in Washington, D.C., and Los Angeles, and Atlanta, and overseas in Austria, give me a different perspective as well on some of the things that can go wrong with urban sprawl, and if you're not careful and thoughtful about the process. And I believe that, I've read the comprehensive plan. I believe that there's a plan in place here, and I would like to be a part of the process because I think the growth in Minnehaha County, the growth over the last almost 9 years that we've been here is very exciting. And I also want to make sure that I want to be a part of that process for the future to make sure to sort of retain the unique character of this area, but also have a place for my children and something that will be maintained in the future for them as we plan to stay here, and I plan to raise my children here. So that is my interest in being on this board. Thank you for taking your time with me and having consideration of my application. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Do you have any questions right now? Okay, thank you, Julie. Thank you. And Mr. Sanses.
My name's Bill Sandness, 4507 West Cottage Trail, which is in District 11, legislative district. Now it's in 12. Originally I'm from kind of where west of here in agriculture also. By the way, I am comfortable with the competition here, and I'm surprised by all the competition. When I applied, I heard no one,
had applied.
You were really looking for somebody, and I even heard one say that, well, one ought to get some of those people who applied before, for the county, the commission, and but anyway, I'm glad to see the good competition. But anyway, I come from a little further west. Some of my relatives are still in Minnehaha, Lincoln. My dad was born in Lincoln. I was raised where Sanborn, Hanson, Gerald, and Aurora counties come together between, it's kind of between Mitchell, well, it's kind of halfway between here and Pierre. And I went to Woonsocket at the high school. From there, received a bachelor's from University of South Dakota, where I became interested in planning, etc., and went on to go into the health planning in particular. And I've also lived in a bunch of places. So in terms of seeing the new metropolitan areas grow, like in metropolitan areas in North Dakota, Minnesota, Chicago, between St. Louis and Memphis, Florida, between Jacksonville and Daytona, Lincoln, Nebraska, and Las Vegas, which is definitely sprawling. So I have studied these things. I have a bunch of master's degrees. They're kind of in planning the policy. So from an academic standpoint, I have looked into this. I've sold real estate in Florida, so I picked up on a lot of the jargon there, because that's quite a market. And I'm retired, and I returned here after serving 3 terms in the legislature and working in healthcare in Sioux Falls with the hospitals of South Dakota for 35 years, and now I'm retired and kind of looking for something to do. Want to do something useful, and I thought this was an opportunity to use some of my experience and knowledge to work on things, here in Minnehaha County.
Thank you. Are there any questions for any of the candidates? We'll have to say that whoever we nominate, we have wonderful candidates, and I appreciate all of your resumes and a lot of experience, and thank you for coming forward. We have other jobs in Minnehaha County. If you're ever looking for something else and you aren't selected today, I hope you'll consider us again. But bring it back to the board. Any questions, comments, motions, Commissioner?
Madam Chair, obviously our county is growing rapidly, and yet at the same time, we're number 5, I believe, in ag income in South Dakota of all the counties. Minnehaha County, everyone thinks of us as a big city, and we're much more than that. And when you look at some of the issues that we have, managing growth and adjusting to new technologies in agriculture is a monthly issue as far as with our planning and zoning. I've said it before, 150 years ago, people were getting shot stringing barbed wire, and now there's people that want to put solar arrays and chickens every place. We have to be ready for these changes. So it is it's a challenging job. I think we do, as you said, Madam Chair, we do have some great candidates here, and it's a very difficult thing being in our position, having to make a decision publicly like this. But that's why they pay us the big bucks. When you're a baseball umpire, you have to call it a ball or a strike, and you can't just say, check with the batter and see what he thinks, or check with the crowd and see what they think. And certainly I guess I'm prepared to make a nomination myself, but at the same time, I don't think that we should be unduly swayed by whatever I might suggest. I am on the Planning and Zoning Board, and Doug and Julie both came to our meeting last night, which went till 9:30, and we had some very interesting developments. One dairy increased their animal units by 1,560 animal units. We had a fertilizer plant being suggested. We had some issues with just a number of different things, and so I think at least those two had a taste of what was happening, and that was Doug and Julie came to that meeting last night. And I guess personally, I think that Mark Rogan was from the Garrettson area, and we do have representation in other parts of the county. So on the one hand, I think we need to have someone from the east side of our county, and on the other hand, I think we need to have someone that's not too much of an advocate for their own industry or their own business. And so from my point of view, I guess I would suggest that Julie is the right person for us to put in this job.
Can we wait for nominations until...
Yeah, I just wanted to make
talks?
this comment, and I'm not making a nomination at this moment. I'm just expressing my view.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Kelly.
It's a question for Jeff or Scott. Do we have any active farmers on the Planning Commission right now? Or any of the other members?
Yes, we do have Bill Even, who's an active farmer. He's also involved in the agriculture industry, and let's see, we have one other. We have one other member too.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Bennett, any questions?
I don't have a question. I just, I want to echo what others have said. I'm a big proponent of public service, and I'm very thankful, even though it is awkward to have to be here and pick a candidate with everyone here. I'm very thankful that you have all put your name forward, and would echo Commissioner Heiberger's comments that regardless of what happens today, I hope you're not discouraged by the process, but encouraged to continue to offer opportunities for your service. You all have a lot to offer, obviously. For me personally, it's thankfully I have known Doug Odie for a long time, and was privileged to serve with his brother on the school board out in Brandon. We were elected at the same time, served with him for 6 years, and he continues to serve on the school board. The Odies are very well represented in the eastern side of our county, and I just would have a lot of confidence that Doug would have a lot of good perspectives to offer and bring forward.
Any other comments?
Do you have any other, Madam Chair?
I'm really torn because it's really hard to do it with everybody sitting here and to think it out. And obviously, you guys all have wonderful credentials, and I think myself too. I'm leaning a little bit towards Doug just because of his. And you have agricultural background too, so it's just really, really, really difficult. Yeah, you have to come to the microphone. Sorry.
I am not involved in agriculture in Minnehaha County, but I am involved in Brown County, invested in both ethanol plants and soybean processing plants, and also in, I own farmland up there. So I have a personal stake, not in this county, but I have personal investments in Brown County, just so that you know that I do have an understanding.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kelly.
Well, I'm really torn on this thing. It's with nothing meant to the other candidates. It's seldom you get a candidate that has the experience that Julie's had, and I think my difficulty. I think Doug would be an excellent member too, and as a working farmer, I think it's important. But I really don't know where to go on this thing, but I think either one of those two would be my top picks, and Julie's credentials are very heavy, so I don't know where I'm going to go yet.
Well, if we have a tie vote, we would defer till next week when Commissioner Benega is back, or we could defer for 1 week and make Commissioner Benega.
I'd feel more comfortable with that.
Defer for 1 week until Commissioner Benega is here and has an opportunity to. I would feel more comfortable with that.
Madam Chair, the Planning Commission does not meet for another 4 weeks, so deferring for a week on this, I don't think would cause any harm to that body. And I would also say that it is the most difficult decision we've had to make since we picked Gene Bender.
This is true. This is true. It's nice to know there's really qualified people out here that want this type of a job. So,
I would make a motion to defer for 1 week until we have a 100% attendance.
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second for deferral for 1 week.
Sorry, folks.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. I thank you again so much for coming, for your words of wisdom. It is going to be a hard decision.
Feel free to stay for the fun that's coming up.
I'm not sure it'd be necessary they show next week. They can, of course, but we've heard, but Gerald hasn't.
He can listen online. He can listen to the tape online too. So, yeah. Thank you very much for your time. So, and you're welcome to stay if you want to, or you may leave. It's whatever. Okay, we will go on to item number 13. Consider recommendation for bid award for oxygen and welding gases. Jason Reeves. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning again, Commissioners. This is a continuation of next week's. Since we deferred one from last week, or I did, from the annual materials letting, there was one sole bidder on our oxygen for welding gases on the annual materials letting. It is not our current supplier of that. Discussion with our fleet supervisor, it costs us in the neighborhood of $1,000 to switch suppliers. So that was why we ended up deferring it, because I wanted to talk to Kirsten about it briefly before that. Came to the conclusion we because they're the sole bidder, we weren't going to throw them out and go about this in a different means. It was not the right thing to do. So we are going to recommend award of the oxygen and welding gases to Airgas USA.
Okay. Are there any questions for Jason on this? Commissioner Bender.
Can you just explain a little bit why it costs $1,000? Is it?
The understanding that I have is that the tanks that we have right now are on a monthly rental, and to swap those out with the new supplier, we have to pay for that swap, and we also do not get a credit on whatever gas is remaining in the tanks that we have that we send back, and I think that is a lot of the cost in there. So if we have a tank that's 3/4 full and we have to send it back to our current supplier, they get that. They're going to get double money for that, actually, is what they're going to get. It's an animal that we have to deal with, apparently.
Why did not the present supplier bid?
You know, we sent them proposals for the current one, because there's actually 2 additional ones in town. This supplier didn't actually quote last year's. The other 2 in town did. They were all sent proposals and were in discussion throughout, and it apparently slipped their mind, because when we talked to them after the bid, they said, "Oh yeah, we'd be willing to give you this for the prices you have right now." Well, it's too late. I'm sorry.
Ouch. Ouch. Well, we do have. If there's no more questions, I would look for a motion and a second to approve this award for oxygen and welding gases.
I'd move to approve Airgas USA.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This is the annual bid letting, and to approve Airgas USA LLC. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Jason. Next one. Item number 14 is consider a motion for bid awards for SEAL 2015 annual chip seal on county highways for Minnehaha County Highway Department. Bids were opened on March 18th.
Good morning again. This is our annual chip seal bid for about 38 and a half miles worth of chip seal on our county roads. Last Wednesday we got 5 bids. My last cost estimate was $1 million for the project. Asphalt Surfacing Company, ASCO from Sioux Falls, was the low bid at $919,000 and change. McLaughlin and Schultz, road guy, Bituminous Paving in Aztec, also quoted on it. Most of them right in that neighborhood of $1 million, so pretty tight, good bids. About $80,000 under the estimate, so that's always good to have. And we're recommending award of this contract to Asphalt Surfacing Company.
Is there a motion?
I would move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the contract on the annual chip seals. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And item number 15, authorize the chairman to sign the agreement between Minnehaha County and JSA Consulting Engineering Land Surveyors Incorporated in the amount of $27,661 for the replacement of Minnehaha County structure number 5290-135 which is at 483rd Avenue, approximately 2.5 miles north and 1 mile east of Corson.
I think there's a 25,661. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I have.
Oh, yep, sorry.
Okay. This project was bid in December, so it is bid, and we have a contractor with Contract Rounds Construction. With the nice weather, they're kind of knocking down the door amongst other contractors around that they want to get going to work. JSA, they did the preliminary and final design and the bidding for the project, and this is just the last step to do the construction administration services for us on the project. For that price of $25,661, and we're asking for approval of this contract.
Okay. Any questions for Jason? Look for a motion. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second to sign the agreement with JSA Consulting Engineers and Land Surveyors. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 16 is consider a motion to approve proceeding with the appraisals, declaration of surplus, and determining method of sale for disposal of RDI 14086 and RDI 14088 located in the village of Corson and owned by Minnehaha County. Ken McFarland.
Commissioners, you'll recall back on February 17th, you were briefed on a request that we had received from a landowner in Corson who was interested in purchasing 2 properties that is owned by Minnehaha County in the village of Corson. As we briefed you at that time, Minnehaha County doesn't have the ability to enter into a direct negotiation with an interested person to buy county property without the process of going through an appraisal of the property, a declaration of surplus of the property, and that declaration has to include a statement that the property is no longer needed for any sort of county purpose, and then to determine a method of sale on the property. And if we're going to sell property, we can do it one of 3 ways. We can sell it by sealed bids, we can do it by a public auction, or we can retain the services of a real estate broker and advertise that that property is in fact for sale through that broker and proceed that way, and then entertain any offers that the broker would do. Since we had that, you took no action on the February 17th meeting. Since that time, my office has been contacted by other individuals within the city of Corson or who have property within the city of Corson who are also interested in purchasing that property. And I've had some contact with a local attorney in town who is also representing some persons, though I don't know who, but he's representing some persons who are interested in the sale of that property as well. So in the last month, we've determined that there seems to be a lot of interest in those 2 lots in Corson that is owned by the county. And so what I'm bringing you today is if you are interested in proceeding with that project, there's a number of things that we would have to do. Again, we'd have to appraise it, and then at some other time, I would have to notice on the agenda that for the formal declaration of surplus, but if you give us an indication that you want to proceed with this sale of this property, we can begin that process. And what would be helpful for us too is a determination on what method of sale you would like to use in order to dispose of it, because there's just certain steps that we need to take to do it. So if you authorize proceeding, we will, and give us an idea of how you want to sell the property, if you're interested in doing it that way, then we will start the process, and at the appropriate time, we will bring you a formal declaration of surplus in order that meets the statutory requirements. It'll have the dates of whatever sale that you indicate, their method of sale that you indicate, and we'll proceed that way. So this is just a first step in the process if you are in fact interested in selling this property.
Use the elbow.
Again, we acquired it a few years back for some widening of the highways in that area, but we have not used it for any purpose since that time. And this is a rather poor map of where the 2 properties are located. Again, excuse me, Robert, that's good enough. The 2 properties are located here and, oops, and here.
Yeah.
There are
Two corners.
two corners.
Ken, it's my understanding that if we declared this a surplus, we could still have a discussion on how we wanted to go about selling
Yes,
this.
you can.
So we
And
don't
that-
have to make that decision
You
today.
do not. And that, but I do need, like I said, I will need to schedule a formal resolution of surplus at a meeting, so it appears on our agenda, so that people know,
Yeah.
and that you're getting ready to take this action.
Right.
Like I said, I'm really kind of surprised at the amount of interest that has popped up since we first brought this topic to you.
Right. So we can just go ahead this morning and declare it as surplus, or we can declare it as surplus and determine a method of sales today.
No, you can't do the surplus declaration today.
No, but I mean, we could tell you to go
Yeah.
forward with it, is what I meant,
You can tell
yes.
us to move forward and
Yes.
begin the processes, and you can tell me, by which method you're leaning to so that we can begin that, but I still need to do a formal declaration of surplus at a noticed meeting.
Okay.
Well, I would
Kelly.
suggest we do that. Apparently, the property has no value to,
We haven't used it for anything.
We haven't used it for anything.
And I
It
haven't
has
heard
value.
anything from the highway department that there's any kind of interest from them to be retaining it for
I would
any sort
hope
of
that we
right-of-way.
could get a little better slide next time when we go to
We do.
declare this.
Commissioner.
Looking at the pictometry, it's pretty good.
Madam Chair, is our first step to get an appraisal then, or do we
If we
just
declared
plan?
it, if we ask for them to get ready to declare it as surplus and ask for an appraisal.
Yep, we
And
will
then-
do that.
Right, I would.
Commissioner,
Generally, the appraisal comes after declaring it a surplus.
Right.
That's the order of steps.
and then I guess I would like to see us make a decision as to how we're going to sell it when all five of us are here.
Okay.
I mean, I think everybody probably has an idea what they would like to do individually, but I think it's fair to have all five people be able to weigh in on how we want to go about selling it.
And the reason is because, again, there are certain steps we would have to take depending on the method of sale. Like if there's a realtor involved, there's a notice provision there that has to be met, and that so it just helps us to kind of know where we're heading as we're prepared for the disposal of the property. But what I'm sensing is that seems to be an interest from the commission to proceed with this, and if you are more comfortable with it, I then can prepare the notice of sale, or excuse me, the notice of surplus, and that with the appropriate action, and then hopefully we'll have, and we can incorporate the notice of sale within that document as well. So,
Okay. Are there any questions?
and there
I know
are folks here, I'm not sure if there's anybody that would like to speak, but I know we have other county properties with tax deeds and everything else. We do tax deed sales generally in September. And there may be other properties that the auditor is hanging on to. I feel him breathing down my shoulder here. And that, so, but again, I bring you this one because we've had some very specific interest and a high level of interest from landowners in that area who have development plans and other issues that they would like to press, and this is probably a little bit more timely than some of the other properties that we have on our books.
Okay. Are there any questions for Ken? Commissioner Bennett.
Ken, before you leave, can you just explain, if we sell this property, where does the money go? Does it go into our general fund for
Yes.
general obligations? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
And it just goes into the general fund balance, and that is not obligated for anything budget-wise until you take an action to do so.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or
Well,
questions?
Ken, looking on the pictometry, can you point to the two that we're talking about again?
It's basically those two corners.
It's two lots, one right here,
Yeah.
and the other one is right here.
And
And there's
what's
a
in the
lot
middle?
in between them.
And a lot in between?
That is not the one for sale. There is a lot in between them. So
And then
it's
it
just
goes,
these
there's
two.
no buildings on this lot, though, it's all vacant.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And look for some action from the
I don't know,
commission.
again, there are folks here, I don't know if they had anything they wanted to say, but I know some of the interested parties are here.
Madam Chair, I wonder if the auditor wanted to make a comment.
Did you have a comment, Bob?
Bob Litz from the Auditor's Office. I wanted to reiterate what Ken did say, in that we had 2 properties left over from our tax deed sale last October. And I pulled them off of there because we weren't getting any bites, and I felt that they were worth more. And, if at that time it looked like it'd be appropriate, why, we might put those properties on there too. But we roll that by you at the time you made your decision. So.
Okay, thank you. Look for some action or comments or questions from the commission on whether to move forward with asking our staff to proceed with the appraisal, or at least with the declaration of surplus or determine of sale.
I would move that we ask staff to proceed with the putting these on surplus list.
Okay.
Second that.
A motion and a second. So our motion would be to approve the staff to move forward with paperwork for declaration of surplus. Any other comments? Commissioner Barth?
I just think you were wise in suggesting we wait till all 5 of us are here to make any kind of real decision.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
And we'll bring that forward shortly.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. Item number 15 is Minnehaha County Liaison Assignment Reports. Are there any reports? Commissioner Barth?
Well, we often talk about the economic impact of the fair in our county and in the city. And yesterday I went and spoke to a convention of fairs that was held here in Sioux Falls. There were 150 people there from fairs in North and South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and obviously they're here for a couple, 3 days, and that's contributing to economic activity in this community. And I was lucky enough to address the body for a moment. But anyway, it's an example of the kind of economic activity that we bring to the community that we don't think of when we just talk about the hundreds of thousands of people that attend the fair itself. Clearly it has an impact of tens of millions of dollars in our area here, and bringing people to display their animals or to whatever, they're going to rent hotels and buy tires and go out to lunch. And I do have one other comment. Obviously, also, we're moving in on the Heartland House fundraiser event, and we need to have people decide if they want to go and sit at our table. I know Dick has been there before and has suggested he would attend, and I believe we have 8 seats in total, and so we should, anyone interested should talk to Ken.
What's the date?
It's April 9th, I believe. It's a Thursday, and it's coming up fast.
Are there any other liaison reports? Just have a short one. I sit on the joint group with Minnehaha, Lincoln County, and the city of Sioux Falls, and we've been working on planning and zoning issues. And one of them that came up, one of our issues that we talked about this last week was a new law had passed the legislature that we hadn't talked about here, and that was that they're going to change the size of zoning notices that you have to post on your property from this big to the size of a campaign sign. Now, the problem we had before with small ones was where do you put them so they don't bend or blow away, and we were putting on telephone poles or fence posts or whatever. Well, now we have a campaign size sign that has to be posted. So it's how are we going to figure this out? Because you're no longer going to be able to put it on a post because it's just going to bend in the wind. Anyway, we had some folks there that are going to look into this and try to give us some more information. If you put them on, use a campaign wire, they bend and break in the wind. So there's some concerns about moving forward with how this bill is going to affect us. There are some provisions in that bill that that we may be able to disregard doing it in Minnehaha County just because of
Ordinance.
An ordinance that we already have in place. So we're looking at it, but it could be it's going to be an increased cost, so that cost would obviously get passed on to the person who is rezoning their property for these signs. Commissioner Kelly?
Cindy, did they consider the different size signs for different size parcels?
No,
I mean, if you're
it's
talking
one
a simple
big sign.
lot and versus 20 acres, it's quite a bit different.
Yeah. No, it's just one sign, or one size sign. So anyway, we had some people looking on it. So any other reports? Okay, we'll go on. Any new business? Scott?
I wanted to, once again, Scott Anderson, County Planning, and back this up a little bit. So I just wanted to once again invite the public to our open house, which is going to be held tonight at the West Central Middle School Commons area. That meeting starts at 6 p.m. and it's a general open house. In addition, I handed out to each county commissioner a little fact sheet that I'll just put down here quickly for you to look at. It's a two-sided document, and this is what we are going to hand out. This is going to be one of the items that we're going to give to the public. And if you flip it over, it sort of explains the planning process. It gives all the public the website and an email address, which they can then take home and also comment on the plan. We will have copies of the plan there for the public to look at. In addition, we will have 5 to 7 stations where staff is going to man those stations and interact with the public that shows up at the meeting to better explain what the planning process is, the various elements of a comprehensive plan. And for the public, I just wanted to reiterate, this is our new comprehensive plan that we have been working on for several years. We've had a task force. The plan is complete, and we are soliciting now basically final public comment from citizens, and the next step would be that we will take those comments that we receive from the public. We will look at them, try to incorporate those if they seem like something that we should be incorporating. We'll probably take those comments back to the task force for one more review of those comments by the task force, and then the plan would then be brought forth to the Planning Commission. Under state law, we have to have a public hearing before the Planning Commission, and then also the Planning Commission makes a recommendation. We have a hearing that's advertised before this board as well, in which, of course, the public is also invited to attend. But I have made announcements at both Planning Commissions last night, and in February we had many people that were there at both meetings, and just to make sure that we're getting the word out to the citizens. My two planners, David Heinhold and Kevin Hookman, made presentations last week to the MPO, to all 3 boards at the MPO, the CAC, the TAC, and the UDC. So we have been getting the word out as well. The city's helped us by advancing, putting it to people that they know, the flyers. We've had flyers out at the front counter at our planning office. So I just would invite you to attend if possible. I know that we have a meeting at 5 o'clock at the city, and but it should be a short meeting, and then we will be right over to that open house. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Okay.
But I'm just inviting the public tonight.
Scott, or excuse me, questions for Scott.
Scott, you attended those meetings on behalf of us commissioners as well, like the UDC, right?
Yes.
And you wound up actually chairing the meeting because so many of us elected officials were out in Pierre or elsewhere. And you said that they had developed their own comprehensive plan for the MPO?
The MPO right now is they have contracted with a company, Kimley Horn, out of, I think it's Cincinnati. They are preparing a long-range transportation plan for the MPO, and they have contracted with Kimley Horn in the amount of $250,000 to prepare that plan, and have had 4 consultants that are working on it. And I really believe that our plan stands up. Just I don't want to brag too much because that pride cometh before the fall. But I think our plan is equally as good as what the the product that Kimberly Horn is working on right now for CCOG. So I'm really pleased with this comprehensive plan, and I think it's very modern. It is looking at all the issues that the county is involved with day to day, whether that's animal feedlots, mining, urban growth. We're looking at how we deal with the pressures that are out there for a transfer of building eligibilities. There's many issues that we're looking at. Bike trails, transportation. It really encompasses a wide variety of issues into one document. And that document is done. We've been working with the task force for a couple of years, and it's now ready. The draft version is ready for review and then hopefully final adoption here shortly.
Madam Chair, the Senate Bill 1 requires us to have a highway plan in order to get some of those benefits, and it sounds like the CCOG is making plans. We also have our own highway department has a 5-year plan, don't we?
Yes.
So are these plans in conflict? Are they in symbiosis? Are they...
the highway department was a part of the task force that reviewed our comprehensive plan, and I wouldn't say that they're in conflict. They're not competing with each other. They basically are two documents that are traveling down a route together. I mean, I think that's maybe the best way to explain it. They each are serving a purpose and a function. Our comprehensive plan is required by state law. In order to have a zoning ordinance, you have to have a comprehensive plan. We periodically look at those comprehensive plans and review them and update them, and that's where we are right now. We have a comprehensive plan. It was adopted in 1998. There was direction from the county commission that you would like to have that updated, and we've been working on that in the past couple of years.
Okay. Any other questions for Scott on this?
Well,
Commissioner Kelly.
when the CCOG plan gets done, does the MPO, who approves that? Because it's going to affect us. You can't have 3 plans that Jeff said out there, I don't think.
Well, the MPO plan is really only specific for the MPO area, and it only deals with transportation issues.
But it has to work in conjunction with our highway plan. Are we assured that we're going to have input into that so that you don't have conflicting plans?
We have input into it. I serve on the advisory committee for the long-range plan that the MPO, that CCOG is putting together on behalf of the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization. They are required to put that together under federal law. In order to tap into those federal highway funds, they have to have a current plan. And I think that they're, like I said, I think they're each a separate document that is traveling down a path that they need to. They're not conflicting with each other or in opposition to each other. I think they're all very good documents that outline a goal for that specific document. Our document deals with many issues in the entire county. It deals with land use, transportation, recreation, and so it's a much broader document than the MPO document.
Okay. Any other questions for Scott? Okay, thank you, Scott. Is there any old business? And actually, I asked Robert to speak a little bit on Waters of the U.S. Again, there was another short report on NACO's website this week on Waters of the U.S. So.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Wilson with the Commission Office, and this is an issue that we've come to you about a number of times in the past, and it's a proposed change in definition of waters of the U.S. within the U.S. Clean Water Act. And the immediate item that happened recently is last Tuesday, there was a congressional hearing taking additional testimony on this proposal. And a little background of what we're looking at is that back in April of last year, the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers proposed changes to the definition of the waters of the U.S. within the Clean Water Act. And as I understand it, the reason for that proposed change was a number of court cases that have come down that made different parts of that definition or the overall statute conflict with each other. And so there was an effort to clean up the overall bill, the law, and bring some clarity to it. Our national organization, National Association of Counties, has opposed the current draft of the definition due to some concerns that in its current form that definition would cause some real challenges for local landowners, agencies such as our highway department, and really deals with what's included in waters of the U.S. Is it ditches that fill with water after rains, stock ponds? Those are the concerns that we're hearing from our representatives at NACO as this moves through. And again, this was a hearing before the U.S. House Committee on Agriculture, the Subcommittee on Conservation and Forestry. Had a number of different local, state folks from other states that testified and provided their input. And a number of again, the specific objections are legal complications, that it would be an obstacle to building rural infrastructure under the rule, that the proposed rule, according to NACO, should be withdrawn until further analysis and more in-depth consultation with state and local officials can be completed. And this is an ongoing process. I would say the item or what I saw out of this that I thought was very interesting is the comment period on this change closed back in November, and the agencies, the EPA and Army Corps and others are reviewing those comments at this point, and it does look like there's going to be a final rule on this definition by late spring or early summer of this year. So we're getting closer to having some finality on this issue. We have weighed in, and you have weighed in as a commission to all three members of your congressional delegation, expressing your concerns that largely mirror the concerns expressed on the national level. And again, it appears that we're potentially getting closer to some clarity with having some actual rules, a decision on these rules by late spring, early summer.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. Are there any questions? Commissioner Kelly.
Well, just a comment. I mean, you named two organizations there that are notorious for the way they treat farmland and agricultural states, and I don't trust either one of them, but witnessed the flood we had a few years ago. I think this is probably one of the most important far-reaching things, because I think the EPA is way overreaching on this, and they're going to be controlling water in the ditches. They're going to control the water in the fields that come off to the ditches, and I just think we all need to keep an eye on this whole deal. I believe all three of our representatives are working on this thing quite a bit. I don't know if Senator Rounds has received the same letter that the other two got.
I was just going to clarify my comments that when we sent the letter to the three members of the delegation, that was at the end of last year. So we could follow up with that same letter to Senator Rounds.
Senator Rounds would be good.
This is really because this is the way EPA works, and this is just going to draw out more and more regulations and less individual freedoms in this country. Thank you.
Any other comments, Commissioner Barr?
I just think we should send that, and I think it's also an argument that our greater participation in NACO is something that we should put on our agenda. Just now in Pierre last week, I talked to a number of people that were out there participating in D.C. for the legislative conference, and I think our county, I mean, if Fall River County can send people, why can't we? Any other thoughts there, Ken?
Well, the Fall River delegate is our representative from the state.
We have a number, though, that go on their county's dime.
Yeah, all the time.
I think it's much more important to go to the national conference. You get a broader perspective of things at the national conference.
The national conference this year is in North Carolina, in Charlotte, in July, and I am considering going this year. That'll be the first time a commissioner from Minnehaha County has gone for
Quite a few years.
a long time, since before I was here. So,
Well, again, I think that we are not using our national organization to the extent that we could and should. It's a real eye-opener when you do go to these things about, all the stuff that we're basically leaving on the table because we choose not to participate on a higher level.
Well, the old saying is those who show up get it done. And if we don't show up, we're not a force on it.
any other questions or comments on Waters of the U.S.? Okay, is there any other old business? Thank you, Robert. Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to adjourn into executive session for legal briefings and contracts.
That's my motion.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.